É isso, minha tropa. Vamos iniciar mais uma live. Após o primeiro acidente que eu tive em moto. Vamos que vamos.
All right, full tour of a Brazilian supermarket today, right here in São Paulo, Brazil. So we're looking for some prices of these staple foods to get the cost of living, as well as some of the more unique items that are available here. And so we'll start in the fruit and veggie section, where I'm sure there will be lots of local fruits, especially because of the tropical diversity here in Brazil. So that's now the mango section features 1, 2, 3, 4 types of mango. I would have thought there was more. Maybe it's not mango season.
Que pente é esse, bicho?
Let's get it. Looking shiny and beautiful. And this is known as maracujá. Emphasis on the ja. Because if you say maracujá, you might as well be speaking Dutch here in Brazil.
Passion fruit.
Passion fruit is really good in Brazil. Those are some beautiful looking avocados.
They're huge.
Picturesque, no? And actually, pretty small apple section compared to all the fruits here. You got all the tropical fruits, guava and passion fruit, but only 2 kinds of apples. Good question. In Canada, we're the opposite. We've got many types of apples, but not so much of the tropical stuff. I tell you what, I bet you on a hot day, this is the most popular section in the store, right? Oh, refreshing right here. Come for the lettuce, stay for the mist. Wow, look at that. That's got to be the world's smallest bananas.
Don't know.
The whole bundle fits in one hand. Almost looks like a toy. Look at that, Ivana. It's so cute, right?
Mais a queda dele.
Baby bananas or baby Jean? Baby banana. Hey, check it out. They even got some
Acertei.
free Wi-Fi right here in a supermarket. Not bad. First time I've seen that. And from the fruit and veg section, we find ourselves in the egg aisle, where it's almost a monopoly on happy eggs. The whole shelf, just happy eggs. And of course, tapioca flour, and it actually has a tapioca right on the front. By pure coincidence, I just had a tapioca this morning, although it was calabresa and queijo. This one here looks like banana and strawberry. Would recommend tapioca. Best breakfast in Brazil. Yes. Whoa, check that out. Palm heart. I didn't realize it was so expensive.
Enquanto eu estiver agachando, é difícil dele me acertar com a bala.
It is pretty young. On pizza or
Ele tem uma janelinha, mas é pequena.
but not cheap. The palm heart. I guess the tree only has 1 heart, so it's
Olha, acertou tão
1
perto.
per tree.
So perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Ivana's favorite. Pentatone.
Não devia ter ajustado a altura.
After Christmas.
Já tô pertinho.
Wow, I guess the bacalhau is commonly stolen because the bacalhau has a anti-theft device on it, like it was a pair of jeans or something in a clothing store. Something new. And oh my gosh, expensive. $256. Oof. Now, probably the most important section in the store, in my opinion, is the meat section. And I'm gonna ask your help, lovely. What's the difference between sausage and calabresa?
I think calabresa
Eu acho que tá
is
caindo
Brazilian
os
sausage.
kbytes da live.
Boom, let us know in the comments.
More smoky, I guess.
Anyway, it's darn good, this stuff, and it's a huge section here, tons of varieties, and pretty fairly priced, I would say.
Break o retorno da live.
Yeah, get it. Wow, look at this. Same like the bacalhau. They got the huge cheese wheel. Huge cheese wheel with the anti-theft device. 12 reais a kilo.
Mas já está
Looks good
travando.
though. Parmesan. Although the real winner, queijo
I don't know.
Minas. Artisanal.
Canastra.
What's it cost?
71.
71. Probably worth it, man. You wake up in the morning, you make a tapioca, and you put that in there. you're set.
Yum.
Tapioca and queijo minas.
Então vamos liberar mesmo os aviões aqui pra
And I tell you
nós.
what, it always amazes me just how much cheese and how good the cheese is.
Vocês estão aqui, mas não vai querer nada.
Look at the cheese.
True.
But Brazil, cheese on the beach, let's go. Now, just for fun, we're gonna find the cheapest loaf of bread. This is something we do in just about every country, just to see what a loaf of bread costs. And in Brazil, 10 reais is the best you're gonna do.
Vocês vão aparecer.
Although,
Tem uma perna
this
no
is kind of
meio.
fancy looking bread. Cranberry, quinoa, and
Parece tá bom.
also, okay, 11 reais. Sounds like a good deal. Uh-oh.
Mano, finalizou, cara, hein?
We have found the bakery. By the way, good looking bakery.
Olha onde tá o sniper. Não tem nem como sair daqui.
Brazil, they got those really good buns. It's almost like a popsicle, what they call it in Portugal. A little different, but it's nice.
Você é
I guess they call it
Não,
mini French bread. I think. Oh, Francis, French bread.
não, não tá os caras.
Francis. Very good for sandwiches. So maybe some sliced meat and cheese.
Yes.
Tomei da onde?
Obrigado. Queijo. Mozzarella.
Mozzarella. Okay.
Got it. It was really hard to say 200 grams, but we did sign language with fingers.
My basket is getting full and heavy.
Quero dar uma de filmezinho, os caras não deixam. Vou com isso daqui mesmo, achei ela interessante.
Gotta.
So nice people.
Yeah.
Só a milha é bem lenta, mas...
Pause the vlog, everybody. Pause the vlog. Ivana, if we bought this, we are staying in Brazil for 20 more days. Could we finish a whole pernil? Oh, look how good it looks.
How do you cook it?
I have no idea, but I want to get it.
Que isso, eu tô tomando encoratado, agora que eu entendi.
Oh, we should get it.
Devem ir muito longe as balas deles.
To be fair, we're not going to buy a whole chunk of meat. But pernil, muito bom.
Should I switch it? They got the Lin brand. It's so much more expensive. Even on sale, it's 72.
72 on sale.
This one is 13.
Espera um aviãozinho pra nós, meu
I mean, you're gonna
time.
pay for the quality, but it's still a sweet bread. It's a nice treat.
With coffee in the morning and my bread and ham and cheese.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
Maybe pernil.
Bora, tá recarregada.
Now, just for argument's sake, we'll show you guys the price of the meats that are commonly eaten, which is chicken breast, ground beef, maybe pork chop, so you can compare. And
Bora.
first, look at the size of the chicken breast. Holy jumping.
É brabo.
That chicken breast is as big as a turkey or something. And most importantly of all, picanha. Which, by the way, pretty good price for all that meat.
Is that a picanha that is for churrasco?
I think this is the same cut of meat, maybe not the same quality, but the same picanha cut that you would get at Fogo de Chão,
Ah.
which is like the most mouth-watering. All you need is meat and salt and fire, and you are in food heaven. Good price for picanha. What should we buy? 2 or 3? I don't ask for one. It's 2 or 3. By the way, Brazilians don't mess around when it comes to meat. This whole freezer here, or fridge I should say, all meat. All of these small ones on the ground are all meat. And then of course the fresh meat over here. It really seems like the Brazilians are eating meat daily. Churrasco every weekend. Because the meat section is huge and very good looking. And that doesn't even include the fish section, which is fresh over there. All of these freezers on the ground, and then the fridge along the wall. To be fair, I don't love fish, so there's a smell to the fish section, which means we should keep moving. Now, for some reason, we couldn't find coração in the whole meat section.
Yeah, chicken
sure,
heart.
they're selling it. It's chicken heart on a stick, and you barbecue it. To be honest, it's one of the dishes from Brazil that when Ivana and I are in Canada, we make this for our friends.
Yeah.
One reason is because a lot of my friends, they hear chicken heart on a stick and they think it's gross.
Right.
Right? A lot of Canadians don't eat organ meat, but the main reason is because coração in the Brazilian style, so good.
Oh, so good.
The texture of the chicken heart coming out of the grill is so good. The rosemary and spices and the flavor is so good. So I'm sure they're selling it over there, but it's a huge section, we couldn't find the coração. But so good. One of the things about Brazil that we love is everything is done in Brazilian style. So of course frozen pizza, every country has this, but in Brazil it's with frango com catupiry, which is the Brazilian cheese, right? Frango means chicken, and catupiry is like that Brazilian cheese. It's really good. So even the things you're familiar with are still Brazilian twist. Well, I tell you what. what? For the first time on our supermarket tour section, we're gonna show the price of diapers because this is a new staple for us. So Ivana, 75 reais for 24 diapers. Cheaper than Canada.
How is this? That in Canadian?
So if you divide by 6, it would be American. So it would be like $12 American, or like 18 Canadian. So I think it's like 75 cents a diaper in Canadian.
It's
Cheaper in Canada. Get one.
1 kilo or...
I would get the big one. I heard for 4 weeks. I mean, get the 1.1 kilos. It's worth it. Get the 1.6 kilos. And would you look at that? It wouldn't be a Brazilian grocery store without Havaiana sandals. Looking at 50 reais for the fancy ones, or 25 for the... We really gotta find a pair that are just for our baby's feet. That would be so cute. What a good memory to have. Yeah, we're gonna find it. Now, if you look at this section here, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Brazilian people like drinking, because this is an alcohol section as big as some grocery stores we've been to in other countries. And so I guess we'll show you this brand price, because it seems like this exact bottle with the same label and everything is available in every country we've ever been to in the world.
Yes, exactly.
So people can compare what that costs in their country, because universal wine brand. And so I'll do my best to show you guys at least some of the beer prices, but there are so many local brands here in Brazil that I won't be able to show you all the Brazilian beer prices. I myself am an original man, although that Brahma Duplo malt, also very good. Now Ivana has found...
Cha-cha-cha.
I got out like cha-cha-cha.
Cha-cha. Wait, how do you pronounce it? Cha. This is the hardest word in Portuguese.
This is the running joke on our channel. Is Ivana trying to say, I think it's cachaça. Not even close. Anyway, cheapest one is 16 reais, which is really quite affordable, considering how powerful this stuff is. Should be like 40% if I'm not mistaken. Like a vodka type thing. And then if you want to go, whoa, 435 reais. Cachaça Salinas Black.
Extra premium.
Extra premium. I'm more of a 16 reais man myself. And so from the alcohol section, we can go to the oil section, where the cheapest one is soybean oil, like 9 reais. And then double that for sunflower seed oil. And then in terms of olive oil, you got a wide range of prices. Maybe we'll find the cheapest olive oil, just for comparison's sake. Holy jumping. Check out the mayonnaise section.
I guess they love their mayo here.
I guess they love their mayonnaise in Brazil. Four bays of mayonnaise. Whereas ketchup only has 3 bays and mustard only 1. So it's obviously a mayonnaise country.
Yeah, you're right.
Here in Brazil. And of course, amongst the ketchup and mayonnaise, you have your potato sticks.
Yeah, if you want
Go on your hot dog.
Brazilian hot dog.
Brazilian style dog. Nice. Never seen that before. Oh, and look at that. Something new. Tomato sauce by Heinz. Did you know that's real?
First time I saw Heinz tomato paste for
mean-
pasta.
It makes sense to make ketchup, but I never seen Heinz tomato paste, even with olives in it. Something. And of course, a big farofa section. Now, refresh my memory of what farofa is.
Flour?
Fried with a tiny bit of oil. Or butter.
Yeah, you can pair it with butter. And then you serve it with any type of food, but mainly for fave.
Yes.
Brazil smash.
Yeah, anytime you have rice and beans, you put on farofa. It's a nice texture out of it. It's a little bit of a... Now, similar to the mayonnaise versus ketchup versus mustard comparison, you can do a coffee to tea comparison in any grocery store. And it turns out that Brazil is definitely a coffee country. The whole shelf all the way aisle, and a tiny bit of tea that's almost a forgotten about little amount at the end. So definitely a coffee country here in Brazil. Now, the potato chip aisle, far smaller. than what we see in Canada. Also, the bags themselves are smaller than what we see in Canada. Oh, look at that! Ketchup, mustard. Yo, we gotta get the mustard chips.
Try it.
Oh my gosh. So listen, the #1 chip in Canada is Lay's ketchup. It's the greatest chip ever. Although, I've always considered myself a mustard ketchup man. So, the fact that they have Doritos mustard, stay tuned to the end of the video. We're gonna eat, get you guys, Doritos mustard.
I think Brazilians also love their sweets. We're gonna make a snacks video here in Brazil, so let us know what to buy.
Yeah, let us know. There's a whole bunch of unique ones here. Give us your favorites in the comment section, and we'll buy them all and try them all. Although I think it's time to get going because Baby Jean is getting a bit fuzzy. So let's go. All right, final review of the Brazilian supermarket. First of all, the chip aisle is so small. In Canada, the whole side of the aisle, the whole way down, and the bags of chips in Canada are like this big.
True.
Small bags and small aisle, although we did find mustard chips, which is pretty exciting. Another thing I noticed was no fresh milk in there. Right? They have a whole aisle of that non-refrigerated milk.
Right.
Which to me, every time I say this, people fight in the comments, but that ain't milk, that stuff. Whatever it is, it ain't
It's
milk.
milk. Just ultra processed.
Ultra processed milk. And then tons of fresh stuff in there. Fresh veggies, fresh meat. Anyway, without further ado, mustard chips.
Good? Give me one.
How good. Because the Doritos is a corn flavor. I think mustard and corn.
I don't take the mustard.
What do you get? Mostly corn?
Mostly corn.
Perdemos o objetivo Delta.
Okay.
Tastes more like cheese to me.
Don't get me wrong.
But still good.
Don't get me wrong. I made the whole bag, but
Tomamos o
it's not that good.
objetivo Eco.
Fogo de chão. 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 Can you see? Fogo de chão.
Sperr gesichtet!
Fogo de chão. Fogo de chão.
Da, feindlicher Bomber! Tauben, da oben!
Estamos perdendo o objetivo Eco. Estamos perdendo o objetivo Eco. Tomamos o objetivo Foxtrot. Perdemos o objetivo Eco. Perdemos o objetivo Foxtrot. Tomamos o objetivo Delta. Tomamos o objetivo Eco. Perdemos o objetivo Charlie.
Feindlicher Soldat gesichtet.
Tá de brincadeira.
At first, I wasn't wanting to. We attacked her. I didn't really want to do it as much. I didn't want to do it. Her whole top head was like gone.
Her whole what was gone?
All ears all
The
gone.
whole top of her head?
Where did you hit her? It was that first one. I think the head. I didn't feel good. We were freaking out.
This is 13-year-old Antonio Barbeau and his friend, 13-year-old Nathan Pop. The pair are enjoying a good meal and some conversation at a local pizzeria. This footage seems innocent enough. However, once it's revealed exactly how they ended up there, your entire perception of this video will change. On Tuesday, September 18, 2012, 78-year-old Barbara Olsen didn't show up at her daughter Judy Offit's house as she normally did mostly every morning. When Barbara failed to appear again on Wednesday morning, Judy became concerned for her elderly mother. Judy placed several phone calls to Barbara in the following hours, but they all went unanswered. By the afternoon, she'd still received no word from her mom. Barbara lived just a few miles away from her daughter in the town of Sheboygan Falls, Wisconsin, so Judy made her way to her mom's house later that very same afternoon. She lifted the garage door so that she could attempt to go into the home through the garage entrance. Her mother's car was missing from inside, but what she did find made her run to a neighbor to call the police.
Please send an ambulance and the police. My mother is laying in the garage and there's a lot of blood and there's a blanket over her head. There's a lot of blood.
How did the blanket get over her?
I have no idea.
And how old is your mother?
She is 78.
And is she breathing?
I don't know. I can't look. The blanket is over her head and I can't look.
Okay, who's there with you?
I hope it's not the neighbor.
Okay, can the neighbor check if she's breathing?
Oh,
You don't have to go and look. You don't have to go. Your neighbor can just go and check if she's breathing.
Okay, they would like you to check.
Are you sending somebody?
I'm working on it. I need to know if she's breathing.
Barbara was lying motionless inside her garage, a blanket covering her face with no shoes on her feet. Her arms and hands appeared badly beaten. A trail of blood stretched from her body back into the house through the doorway that connected the garage to the interior of the home. Had the blanket been removed from Barbara's head, the sight would have been enough to scar Judy for the rest of her life. Underneath the cloth was a black plastic bag that had been placed over Barbara's head and secured around her neck with a black belt. Had the bag been removed, Judy would have seen that her mother's head was so severely crushed that parts of her face were either missing or indistinguishable. The top portion of her head was all but gone. The hunt for Barbara's killer began. Barbara Olsen was a volunteer driver for elderly citizens in Sheboygan Falls, an avid gardener and described by her family as generally peaceful and positive. She simply wasn't the kind of person who would have had any enemies, which left detectives without any real leads. However, conversations with Barbara's family, as well as a few odd pieces of surveillance footage secured from multiple establishments around the area, landed detectives in front of two 13-year-olds. Barbara's great-grandson, Antonio Barbeau, nicknamed Tino, and his friend, Nathan, or Nate Pop. Investigators were hoping that these two middle schoolers could help them get to the bottom of who mercilessly executed Barbara Olsen, and why. The following interrogation footage has never been seen before.
Stand up.
The first thing detectives do is remove Antonio's handcuffs, likely in order to make him more comfortable and build rapport with him before the interrogation begins. Prior to him entering the room, detectives intentionally pulled Antonio's chair away from the table. This way, they have a clear view of his whole body, which will allow them to more effectively read his body language.
Yeah.
Fine, bro. First of all, can I get your name? It's Antonio Barbo. Is that how you pronounce it?
Antonio Barbo.
Okay. How old are you?
13.
Alright, so what grade are you in school?
I'm in 8th.
And you can understand everything that I'm saying so far, correct? Alright, do you know what day it is? Of the week?
I think Thursday.
Okay.
Detectives are asking some basic questions to get him talking and establish a behavioral baseline.
We've been involved in a serious investigation, okay? There's a lot of different people that have been talked to already about the serious investigation, and you're one of them who want to talk to. Okay? Alright. Because you're sitting in here, I do have to read you your rights, okay? Alright.
Antonio appears relatively calm and unemotional for someone his age finding themselves in this position. This is likely not his first run-in with law enforcement.
Do you understand each of these rights? Okay. Realizing that you have these rights, are you now willing to answer questions or make a statement, basically listen to me and answer the questions so that we can hopefully clarify some things? Okay.
Antonio might understand the literal meaning of his Miranda rights, but he's likely too young to understand the repercussions of speaking without an attorney being present. If a minor understands their Miranda rights, they have the ability to waive them. However, a court will review the situation more carefully than a waiver by an adult before admitting an incriminating response into evidence. The prosecution must know that the minor understood the situation and their rights, and the waiver was voluntary, knowing, and intelligent. The court will take into account the age and intelligence of the minor and any coercive or deceptive tactics by law enforcement, as well as the emotional state of the minor at the time. If a parent or guardian was not in the room, a minor may not have understood their rights or may have felt more pressure to cooperate with law enforcement.
There was a serious incident involving your great-grandmother, I believe. Do you know who that would be?
On my side? My side?
Yeah, I think it is.
Then Grandma Barb.
Okay, what's her... Is it grandma or great-grandma?
I just say Grandma.
But is she your grandma or is she your
She's
great-grandma?
my great-grandma.
Okay. Do you know anything at all about what may have happened to her? Have you heard anything? Do you know anything at all?
No, what happened?
Okay. Well, like I said, it's a serious incident. She's not doing that well, and I'll get more to it later as far as the other people that we've talked to, what came up, so, okay.
This is a strategically placed statement by the detectives. It lets Antonio in on the fact that detectives have spoken with other people before speaking to him. This leaves him to wonder what they already know. The detectives will likely reveal what information they've gathered piece by piece as the interrogation progresses, in order to see if Antonio's story changes.
Alright. So you don't know anything about, when's the last time you saw your great-grandma?
It usually indicates that someone is experiencing a negative emotion when their lips seem to disappear, such as Antonio's are here. Disappearing lips doesn't mean someone is being deceptive. It just suggests that they're likely feeling anxious or upset. Telling a lie can be anxiety-provoking for many people, as they don't know whether they will be believed or not. Since we already know that Antonio is lying about when he last saw his great-grandmother, we can presume that his disappearing lips are due to stress from being deceptive.
I don't know, I've been in trouble the past, like, month or two. I'm thinking at least a month ago.
So the last time you saw her was at least a month ago?
Yeah.
And do you remember where that was that you saw her?
No.
In response to this question, Antonio's hand flies up to his face. Pulling or pushing on one's face is known as facial distortion. It's an adaptive behavior to release nervous energy and self-soothe. Given that Antonio is covering one of his eyes, it could also be a form of eye blocking, which is a behavior that people may do when they are presented with something they perceive as negative. It's a way to put distance between themselves and whatever they're hearing or seeing. When an interrogation first begins, detectives will start with basic questions so they can get a feel for how the suspect responds to low-pressure questions. They will then compare that behavior to how the suspect acts with higher-pressure questions, like about the crime that has occurred. Antonio's baseline behavior involved very little movements, and he appeared relatively relaxed. However, as soon as questions about his great-grandma started, he began showing signs of stress. The detectives will likely interpret this as a deviation from his baseline behavior, and therefore an indication of possible deception.
When's the last time you were at her house, Grandma, or great-grandma Barb Olson's?
Probably last time I went over there to work for her, which would probably be about 2 months ago. I remember I went over there, I put some leaves.
Here, when asked again about his last interaction with his great-grandmother, we see more touching of the face and neck, and very subtle movement of the leg. These are physical signs of increased anxiety and potential red flags of deception. These movements indicate the person is likely feeling stressed, which could be because they're lying.
Like, she had all these leaves in the garage, like a lot.
Rather than the short answers he's given so far, Antonio delves into a detailed explanation about the artwork he'd previously done for his great-grandma, likely because it's a true story. These kinds of behavioral deviations are exactly what detectives are looking for.
How long ago was that, did you say?
I guess about 2 months.
And that was at your great-grandma's house?
Yeah.
So do you know where that is? Do you know the address by any chance? Or
I don't know the address.
You know what street it's on or anything?
Yeah, I know it's Sheboygan Falls, and then, like, I know the area that it's in, but I don't know the rest of it.
Jogar
Okay, and you were talking about getting in trouble and stuff. What are you here for?
I'm here for...
Antonio seems to give this particular question quite a bit of consideration before answering. He even repeats the question first, which is a common tactic used to stall for time.
Well, I'm here because I ran from social care when I had to go to social care. Because I remember I was like, my mom was telling me like if I was like really good and all that, I'd get out sooner, all that type of stuff. And then I was there for like a week and a half, and like half a week before that, I was talking to my social worker. She said only a few days. So then after that other half a week, I asked my mom, do you know I'm getting out in a few days or something? And she's like, your social worker said it's going to be at least another 2 weeks. So I didn't like that, so I left.
The fact that Antonio ran from social care in the first place, essentially because he didn't like being there, gives detectives a good idea of the kind of kid he really is. Defiant and insubordinate, with a complete disregard for authority.
Do you know what you were doing Monday? Where you were at, where you were staying, where you were home, or where you were at Monday during the day?
I'm not sure I was sleeping until like at least 2, and then I started walking around.
Where did you, so Sunday night you slept?
Antonio begins furiously scratching his leg, a new stress adapter. Skin scratching is closely associated with stress. When a person is feeling pressured, the body sends signals to immune cells to release chemicals like histamine, which can trigger inflammation and cause itching. Most adults are aware that a lot of fidgeting can make themselves appear anxious and, as such, might try to stifle those behaviors in order to appear more innocent. A young teen, on the other hand, may lack insight into their own behavior and may not realize that detectives are analyzing their every move. Aware of this discomfort, detectives press forward with questioning about what exactly he did over the weekend.
Where were you sleeping at Sunday night?
I was, I wasn't home.
It's peculiar that Antonio's having a hard time recalling this information, considering that Sunday would have only been 4 days prior. Rather than trying to remember, it's more likely that he's trying to think of a suitable answer to give detectives.
Quite sure I stayed at a friend's house that night.
Red flags go up as Antonio resorts back to giving undescriptive and vague answers, an indicator that he might be nervous about this particular line of questioning or withholding information. Note also the pitch of his voice as he answers.
Quite sure I stayed at a friend's house that night.
This is called upward or rising inflection when someone's statement ends on a higher pitch than it started. This often happens when someone is asking a question, or if they aren't sure about what they're saying. It's a red flag that Antonio's inflection rises when he's making this statement, because most people would be able to confidently answer whether or not they stayed at a friend's house a few nights ago. As he finishes this statement, he looks directly at the detective, possibly to see if the detective seems to believe what he said.
Well, today's Thursday, wasn't that long away, so do you know which friend it was that you stayed at Sunday night?
I'm gonna say probably Nathan.
And what's his last name?
We have to pause here. What Antonio doesn't know is the detectives have already spoken to his friend Nathan at length about what happened on Monday afternoon. In fact, detectives had paid Nathan a visit at his home only the day before to discuss the ongoing investigation. It turns out that Nathan told a completely different version of what happened on the night of Monday, September 17th. Now detectives are left to determine which of the two is lying. The following interrogation takes place on Wednesday, September 19th, just hours after Barbara was found.
Right, Nate. We're here to talk with you, and we want to talk to you because we understand that you are friends or somehow associated with a person by the name of Antonio Barbo.
Yeah.
Tino? I understand he goes by the name Tino?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're friends with Tino?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, when's the last time you think you saw Tino?
Yesterday.
Yesterday? And where was that at?
Just down on the corner of the spot.
Did you expect to see him when you were leaving your house?
No.
Did you know that Tino was a runaway?
Yeah.
Do you know how long he had been a runaway for?
Yeah. Since last week Friday.
And did he run away from home, or does he live at his house?
No, he was in shelter care.
In shelter care?
Yeah. And he had to stay for another 2 weeks, and he decided just to leave. And that was like right after school. He started to run because his mom picked him up. And he decided to go to the other side of the building.
Okay, Nate. So in that time frame between Friday, when he ran away after school, until yesterday, did you see him in that time frame between that Friday?
Yeah.
When did you see him?
Sunday and Saturday and yesterday.
So you saw him every day since he ran away?
Yeah, pretty much.
There's a second of hesitation before Nathan reveals that he'd been with Antonio on Monday, the day of the murder. He was likely debating whether to lie or be honest about seeing Antonio that day. Not only is he being stared down by police, but he likely knows that Antonio is in custody already. What he doesn't know is whether he's spoken to the police already, or what all he might have told them.
Until one of my neighbors, who was actually related to me, noticed it. And then, like,
Essa
Noticed
partida.
that I was like staying at his house when there was a warrant out for my arrest.
And when was that again?
That would be
Feindliche Kavallerie.
the day that I got picked back up would be 2 days ago.
Both boys tell the same story, that Antonio stayed at Nathan's at night on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that they spent their days just walking
Feindliche
around.
Kavallerist in Sichtweite.
Oh no, Monday, I remember Nathan had to go to school. So I was sitting in the house all day.
At his house?
Yeah, I was watching TV most of the day. He was
mas é que eu
checking
tentava
records, he was at
pensar.
school and all that. I remember I was sitting there watching TV most of the day till he got home.
Rubbing the front of the neck is a common soothing technique, as it stimulates the vagus nerves and sends signals to your brain to slow down your heart rate. People do this subconsciously when they're feeling insecure or threatened. In addition to the excessive neck rubbing, Antonio tells detectives they can check the school's records to prove that Nathan was at school on the day of the murder. This is an example of a qualified statement, or an add-on that is meant to increase the credibility of a claim. However, qualifying statements are, ironically, a common indicator of dishonesty.
I'm pretty sure we just walked around a little bit, came back, watched TV because it was already late by then.
And this is Monday, what, afternoon or evening?
Yeah, like around after school.
Did you stay overnight again Monday night then?
Yeah, Monday night I stayed, and then Tuesday, I think, he decided not to go to school, but I didn't know that until I woke up. And then, we got up, started walking around.
Antonio is recalling a lot of detail about his time in Nathan's house. And just a few minutes ago, he appeared to be struggling to remember where he was on Sunday night. This type of omission can be considered an example of memory of extremes, which describes when a suspect remembers details of less pertinent events, but will then claim to be unable to recall details of an event that occurred, say, only 4 days ago.
And then that's when Ethan came over. Like, he was like, hey, Tino, like, I haven't seen you for a while, that type of stuff. And then he was kind of like next to me, a little behind me, so I didn't see it. And then he just like grabbed me, and then he just yells, I got him. I remember then they called my mom. She came pick me up. She talked with my, I think it's attorney. And then she talked with him, and he said just to stay at my house for the night. And then in the morning just to come over there, and then we'd have our like session or whatever it was, like where we were talking about the case.
Okay.
So we went to my house, stayed there for the night.
That was Tuesday?
Yeah, and then yesterday morning at I think like 9:30, we went there and then we talked with him about my case, and then he was checking to see if there was warrants for my arrest, which there was. So then he was talking to my social worker, and then I came here, and then they said today at 11:15 I have my hearing deciding where I go.
Who else does Tino hang out with?
He used to hang out with Nick, but they're not friends anymore.
Do you know why they don't hang out anymore?
He broke into his house before.
Who broke into whose house before? Broke into Nick.
Antonio's pattern of shamelessly violating the rights of others is another sign of possible conduct disorder. It's usually diagnosed during childhood and can be a precursor for antisocial personality disorder as an adult. Kids with conduct disorder consistently display behaviors such as aggression towards people and animals, destruction of property, deceitfulness or theft, and the frequent violation of rules. Though he checks off multiple boxes, to our knowledge, Antonio has not been diagnosed with conduct disorder.
What do you know about that, Nate?
I know he took the money, and I don't remember the time.
How long haven't they been friends?
A couple weeks now.
Did this happen right after he broke into the house?
It happened a while ago, but I think they just found out like 2 weeks ago.
Do you know how Nick found out?
They set up cameras.
So he broke into their house more than once?
Yeah.
Do you know how many times that,
4.
4 times that Tino broke into Nick's house?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
I was with him.
Nathan is very evasive about his involvement in breaking into Nick's house. Up until this point, he talked about the break-ins as if Antonio was acting alone. He only confessed to being there when he was directly questioned about the information he knew. He seems to be trying to deflect all the responsibility onto Antonio when he was also present and very likely complicit in the crime.
Were you caught on camera too then, Nate?
Yeah.
Being entangled in this many legal issues at such a young age is an indication that these behaviors likely would have continued and developed into a criminal career without the proper intervention. The greatest thing of note here is that Nathan has engaged in criminal behavior with Antonio multiple times before. They've begun to establish a pattern of behavior that the two of them have when they're together. The combination of their personalities might have made them capable of doing things together that they might not have done alone. After almost an hour of being interviewed, it's suspicious that Nathan hasn't inquired as to why the detectives are there. Even more odd is the fact that Nathan's mother is present, yet hasn't spoken up in any way to protect her son, request an attorney, or ask any questions. This is a possible indicator that Nathan and his mom are used to dealing with law enforcement in relation to his past conduct.
So you guys got caught on camera a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Did Nick or Nick's family call the police?
Yeah. That's the only reason why she was insulted there.
Since he ran away on Friday, you talked about when you saw him and that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, aside from the times that he stayed overnight at your house on Saturday and left on Sunday, it seems like it's pretty limited. So you guys didn't have an opportunity to go out and get into any trouble, did you?
No.
Okay. You guys didn't do anything against the law together since Friday?
No.
Did he tell you that he did anything against the law?
No.
The detective is hoping that Nathan will take the bait and at least admit to Antonio having done something illegal, but he continues to deny. At this point, detectives have dedicated about an hour to asking ancillary questions. Once she begins digging deeper into the crime in question, there's a good possibility that either Nathan won't be as generous with information, or that he or his mother might request a lawyer. With those possibilities in mind, the detective is likely making sure that she extracts all the information she can get out of him before the real questioning begins.
And Nathan's mom, when is she around? Does she work or?
She does work, but it sometimes varies. She does a lot of overtime. Otherwise, I think she usually works Monday to Friday till like 3, I think.
Antonio seems to know a considerable amount about Nathan's mom's work schedule. He even notes her occasional overtime. This knowledge has probably helped him and his friend Nathan sneak around in the past.
Would there be any reason at all that some of these people that we've talked to would have said that you would have not necessarily been at Nathan's on Monday afternoon?
No, because no one knew where I was. That's why I was missing.
Okay. Were you in any vehicles at all at any time? Do you have any other friends that have cars or vehicles of any kind to go over?
I remember Nate's mom has a car. He changed the black out of the car, and I was able to one time around the black.
Antonio may be trying to appear open and honest by confessing to the relatively insignificant crime of underage driving. In reality, he's only emphasizing his disregard for rules and the safety of others. His ability to get away with reckless activities of this caliber is evidence of an apparent lack of parental supervision. Antonio is being raised by a single mother, which makes it nearly impossible to have eyes on him every hour of the day. If a single parent doesn't have a strong support system with which to raise a child, there is a significantly higher risk of that child developing behavioral issues of some sort. The time his mom spends at work or taking care of other matters explains these wide windows of opportunity that Antonio has to engage in these illegal and dangerous activities.
You with Nathan?
Yeah.
What kind of a car is that?
It's pretty crappy red car. I don't know what it's called.
I assume it's not a new car, it's an older one? Or?
Yeah, it's an older car. And then...
When was that Nathan drove around and you were at?
I think Sunday.
And Nathan was driving it? You were in it? Where did you go then?
Just around the block once.
Would there be any reason at all that when we've talked with people, and like I said, we've talked to a bunch of people and we're still talking to people, that anyone would say that you would have been at your grandma's? Great-grandma's, I'm sorry?
No, I had no reason to.
The detective asks Antonio what's known as a bait question to see how he'll respond or if he'll at least admit to being close to the crime scene. It's interesting that his answer emphasizes the idea that he had no business in that area rather than a simple no.
I mean, people would have known I was there. I wouldn't have just randomly been there.
So you're straight out saying, and you'd said before that the last time you saw her at all was at least a month ago?
Yeah.
So you would straight out be saying that if anybody said that they specifically saw you at your great-grandma Barb Olson's house anytime within the past 2-3 weeks or something, that they're lying?
Yeah.
The suspect clearly seems unconfident in his answer here. Innocent individuals are usually definite and forceful in their answers, especially if they're being accused of something. On the other hand, individuals who are completely guilt-free will give characteristically vague and weak answers that display their uncertainty.
You know if any of the people that live by your great-grandma know you from seeing you there or anything?
No, I don't think so. I don't know any of them.
Would there be any reason somebody would say that they saw someone about your size, height, with that type of a haircut at your great-grandma's house within the past week?
No.
It's unclear whether anyone truly told police that they saw someone who looked like Antonio around Barbara Olson's house. Police will often reference evidence that they don't actually possess in order to get a suspect to confess. This maneuver is both legal and commonly used in the interrogation of suspected criminals.
Okay, so you're straight out saying that you weren't there and they must be mistaken or lying or something?
Yeah.
Do you have any enemies that for any reason at all would lie about something like that? Especially if there was a serious incident involving your great-grandma that they would want to point the police to you, basically?
Not really. For sure not in Falls, because I barely go there. And then there's a boy again. I really don't have that many enemies. I can ask people pretty easily.
Do you have a job or anything that you can make money, or do you get paid an allowance or anything like that?
We were talking about allowance, but then like decided getting in trouble and then never really finished talking about it.
The detective suspects that there might be a financial motivation behind what happened to Antonio's great-grandmother.
So, if you need something, if you need new clothes, if you want some soda, if you want something like that, did your mom give you the money, or how does that work, or you just don't get it, or what?
Well, like if it's not that much, my mom will usually get it, but otherwise, I really don't get stuff.
Antonio's answer indicates that he comes from a low-income household. Oftentimes, young people who commit theft and similar crimes do so largely because of deprivation. This is concerning when combined with the fact that Antonio has demonstrated that he has no problem breaking the law in order to get his way.
If I were to tell you that your great-grandma Barb Olson was killed, would that surprise you?
This could be the freeze response. When someone encounters a threat, they may stop all movement so they don't draw unnecessary attention to themselves. Most innocent individuals would express shock, surprise, or sadness at hearing that a family member was killed. But Antonio appears to be frozen and shows no visible reaction. Someone who's guilty may feel panic when they find out the victim has been found because they're worried about getting caught. Momentarily freezing is one way the body handles stress until the brain can kick in and decide what the best course of action is.
Would you have any idea at all how that could have happened?
No.
No idea.
No.
I take it you're not real close to her as far as hearing that news and just...
I mean, as I said, I never like talked to her that often.
As I said, is a referral statement and may be used by suspects to make their story sound more credible. Referral statements build on the idea of repetition. The more you hear something, the more believable it may seem. Antonio needs to find a way to explain why he doesn't appear upset about his grandma. He may think that if he can convince the detective that he wasn't close to her, this will explain his lack of emotion. It's important in this moment to remember that Antonio isn't the conventional suspect. He's only a teenager. Thus, the state of development that his brain is in plays a big part in his actions and reactions. Teenagers can be very self-centered, and this can be due in part to the fact that the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, doesn't fully develop until one is in their mid-20s. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for logical thinking and the comprehension of how one's decisions affect other people. Therefore, it's entirely possible that, though it's a tragic event, Antonio doesn't feel that his great-grandmother's death affects his everyday life and doesn't yet have the cognitive ability to clearly see how it will affect other people, which explains his emotional detachment from the situation. Though this can't possibly explain his reaction or lack thereof in its entirety, it's worth noting.
I did a little bit, but not that much.
Do you use drugs at all? Any kind of drugs?
I have done drugs, yeah.
Okay. When's the last time you used any kind of drug?
At least a week ago.
The detective is clearing the possibility that Antonio might have been on drugs at the time of the murder. If he were to have committed this crime in an intoxicated state, that could open the possibility for Antonio to use the diminished capacity defense in court.
And what would that have been?
Just weed.
You haven't used any weed at all since about a week ago? Something like that?
Yeah.
So, again, if I came and said that we've talked with people that have mentioned that you were smoking marijuana within a week, like within a day or two, what would you do?
I don't know how I know, because when I do it, it's usually just by myself and like somewhere where no one's around.
So if somebody was talking to you that said that they sold you weed within that week, that would be a lie?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you would take a blood test or something, that's going to come back and show that it's been at least a week?
Yeah.
This is a misleading statement from the detective. No drug test, including a blood test, can reveal exactly how long it's been since the suspect last did drugs. Rather, a drug test tells conclusively whether a person has done drugs within a certain time frame, based on whether traces of the drug are still present in their system. A blood test specifically can tell whether or not a person has smoked marijuana within the last 3 days, or up to a week for heavy users.
Have you ever been in that car, though? In your grandma's car?
I think I've been in the back before. She was like bringing me to my other grandma's house that's in Sheboygan Falls. But that would have been a really long time ago.
Like, what are we talking, a year? Or?
Like 4 or 5 months ago.
But it was at least 4 or 5 months since you were in that vehicle.
Yeah, it's been a really long time.
So if we get evidence, and I'll say right now we have that vehicle, and it's going to be able to show as far as fingerprints or whatever probably, that you've been in there within 4 to 5 months.
If this claim sounds outlandish, that's because it is. It is not possible to date fingerprints. This is likely another lie to intimidate Antonio into confessing. In recent years, states across the country have begun to acknowledge that lying to minors in an interrogation is coercive and poses a much higher likelihood of yielding a false confession than if the suspect were an adult. Some states insist that suspects under 15 years of age have a parent, guardian, or other interested party present with them during questioning. This is because typically young offenders don't fully understand the gravity of the situation or their right to remain silent, which automatically gives the detective the upper hand in a situation just like this.
I just want to make sure you're pretty sure that's the last time you were in, right? Yeah. So they shouldn't show up, correct? Okay. Yeah, shouldn't show up? Yeah. Okay. Any of your friends ever been in that car that you're aware of?
I have no idea. I don't think so.
Actually, the only friend you even talked about is Nathan, I think, right?
Yeah.
Rubbing or covering the eyes is another indicator of possible deception, as it could be a subconscious attempt to hide from the detective or the situation as a whole.
Or you say, has he ever been in that car that you're aware of? And I'm assuming you would have been with him, right? Or does he know your great-grandma?
I think he did it once.
That's your great-grandma's?
Yeah, I think one of the times when I was working, he went
And do you remember ever being in your grandma's car, great-grandma's car, I'm sorry, Barb Olson's car, with your friend Nathan in the car too?
No.
Okay. So as far as you know, he's never been in that car, correct? Unless he would have been there alone, which, is that doubtful or probable?
I don't see how he would have been.
This is another example of a qualifying statement. Innocent people typically provide a more direct response, such as a simple yes or no. Instead, Antonio is being careful and giving ambiguous answers that he can later turn around and change if necessary.
So you'd be extremely surprised if he's been in the car, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The detective creates a long silence by pausing to take notes. This is also an interrogation strategy, as a suspect will often find the quietness uncomfortable and continue talking in order to break the awkward silence. However, it seems that Antonio has nothing else to say. It's worth noting that the interrogation has been going on for over half an hour, and Antonio hasn't pressed the issue of what exactly happened to his great-grandmother, how she was killed, or who could have hurt her. This line of questioning is often lacking when a person is guilty. They simply don't think to ask because they already know what happened.
So what's the most recent time you would have been in your grandma's bedroom, do you think?
Probably to go to the bathroom, which would have been last time I was working.
And that was a month or so ago?
Yeah. So that would have been when I went in there to go to the bathroom.
Right. And as far as being in your grandma's room, would you have just gone in there to get to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Or what?
That would be it. I would have used it to go to the bathroom. Like gone from there, went to the bathroom, came back out, went around.
And you've never seen, like if she kept her jewelry on a counter, what she would keep it in, anything like that? Do you have any idea at all?
If I had to take a guess, I'd say their bedroom like everyone else.
Antonio is yawning frequently. He could be experiencing excessive tiredness in relation to his marijuana usage, or he could genuinely be sleeping poorly in such uncomfortable conditions. An alternative explanation for the yawning could be a heightened level of anxiety, which can be relieved by delivering more air into the lungs. In fact, in just the last 30 seconds, Antonio has pursed his lips, yawned, sniffled, touched his face, and scratched both his neck and the back of his head. This is the exact kind of behavior the FBI looks for when interrogating a suspect. 3 or more stress-adapting behaviors in quick succession is considered a heavy indicator of deception. Antonio has